Hey Internet, it's RJ. Welcome back. Thanks for tuning into the show today. Now, today's episode, we're going to talk about one of the age-old dilemmas in the credit card game, and that is, what is a Chase 524 credit card slot really worth? How do you evaluate that? How do you make decisions? What's the best strategies and thoughts overall? Plus, what have I done historically? So, of course, if that sounds interesting to you, then go ahead, press the subscribe button, and let's get to work. Now, really quick, just to level set us, if you are new, Chase's 524 rule is that if you've applied and if you've been approved for 5 or more new credit cards in the last 24 months, Chase will decline you. Now, yes, I know some of the co-branded cards may or may not still count in there, but for argument's sake, let's just leave it at 524. Business cards historically do not count towards your 524 status. They pull credit, but they generally don't report to personal credit, so Chase doesn't know, even though they could probably figure it out if they wanted to. And this ends up being very important because in the game here, there's the two main players are Chase and American Express. They have by far the best offers. Other card companies may have a hit offer here and there, but across the catalog, Chase and American Express offers are consistently pretty good. I would give the nod to Chase simply because their cards tend to be cheaper than the American Express versions, but again, you can see the problem. If you got locked out of Chase early on by being over 524, well, it's going to be pretty tough, financially, because you're going to just lose out on a lot of money, regardless if you like the cards or not. They also happen to have good cards. So this question comes up, and what got me thinking about it was the autograph Journey that came out a while back. It came out as a $600 offer for $5,000 in spend, $95 annual fee. I thought the card was really good. I still think it is. I applied for it, was denied, notably here, but it was a good card. It is a good card. And, a lot of folks, not a lot, but some people comment like, yes, it's good, but it's not worth a 524 slot. Fair, perhaps, but what is worth a 524 slot? The idea being that if I apply for this Journey card, it's a personal card, going to report to personal credit, and it's going to count towards one of my 5 Chase slots that I get for the rolling 24 months. Okay, is it worth it? Is it not? Well, how would you decide that? Well, there's a few different factors we can look at, and I don't know that we're supposed to come out with a definitive answer. It's more so I think it's just good conversation, is that a few things. Number one, you can look at the intro offer. Is $600 to you worth a 524 slot? Is the card itself, is it really good? Does it offer something special that you simply can't get under Chase? Does it do something for you to make your life or your system, your setup work easier? That could be another way to look at it as well. There's another path you can look at of like, where am I at in my approvals and inquiries list? Is it going to be harder to get this card later than it would right now? What are you trying to do in your overall setup wise? These are the various factors I think you can look at it from. So it almost becomes a level of opportunity cost, right? So, if we back up a little bit, ideally, in a perfect world, you would start with Chase first, and you would go through the Chase cards. You'd probably get a Freedom Flex, Unlimited, one of the Sapphire cards. Then you deep dive the business cards, and you can stay there for a while. That kind of ends up being one of the first trip-ups, I think. They kind of got me, is you can stay in the Chase ecosystem for quite some time, especially if you don't have a ton of spend. Because even in the ink cards, spending $6,000 every 3 months, like that's a chore for some people who are younger, which is a good thing. You don't want to aspire to have to spend more money. But it just, as you get older, like now, but when the Sapphire Reserve 100K offer for $4,000 came out, I remember when it came out, and I just couldn't fathom spending $4,000. I got 3 houses, man. I can blow through an ink card in an afternoon. Sadly, it's not nothing to be proud of, but can do it. So the point is, you can actually stay under Chase for quite some time. So at some point, you kind of got to make a decision on what you want to do. And I think that's where the question really comes in. Because if you're at 324, whatever, just get the card, you'll be fine. But if you're 424, whatever, right? So, if you're looking at it just from a cash play, which is how I was looking at it, well, then I think you get to weigh the opportunity cost of staying versus going. I was on my second pass of Chase cards. I'd been over 524 once. I was back under, making the rounds again. And, yes, you can stay, but, what's one more ink card, let's say, is $750 versus the autograph card $600. Okay, well, $750 better than $6, sure, but what if you keep stacking on more and more cards? The opportunity cost for me became greater to stay at Chase because of you can only move through the cards so fast. They're still only going to approve you for so many at one time. versus leaving and getting all the money from all the other issuers. Now, I've hit US Bank, Citi, Huntington, Wells Fargo, AAA, you name it, I've got a card from there, and like that, I made much more money as I try to make, $5,000 a year on credit card offers and points. That wouldn't be possible if I just stayed with Chase. So for me, from a cash perspective, opportunity cost is what drove me out of Chase to go out and explore the vast credit card catalog we have to choose from. If you travel, it's a little bit different, especially if you love United or Hyatt or something. United's a better example because there's just simply more. There's like 4 personal United cards and 2 business ones. Plus you can earn ultimate reward points on the ink cards and the personal cards and turn them into United points. So the calculus is a little bit different, because you'd want to maximize your United points if that's what you were after, versus maybe just being a straight cash back person, right? So a little bit different over there, but that's something else to factor in. The other thing to take a look at is, okay, the card itself. Does the card itself do anything for you specifically, make your life better? Again, in terms of the Journey card, I like it a lot. I think it's a really good card. Does it do anything spectacular? No, not really. We'll put it on screen again for you. I don't think it does anything spectacular, like in the least bit, but it is a good card. But you could then make the argument like, well, I'm going to stay underneath 524 and skip out on this. I don't care about the money right away, it's fine. But if you make the decision harder, something like a Venture X that could potentially make your life easier. I don't want to be too dramatic with it, better, but easier. Like if you fly through DFW or IAD a lot, or Denver, whatever Denver's airport is, where there are Capital One lounges, you may want to get that card, and it may actually make a difference for you. And that I think is probably worth a 524 slot if it's going to make your life that much better. For me, it was actually the Amazon card, which is a Chase card, but there's a thought that again the Amazon card is outside of 524 as a co-branded card. But for me, it sounds silly, but I was buying so many Amazon gift cards on the Freedom cards, that I just got tired of it. I was trying to not buy gift cards and have dedicated 5X cards for everything. So yeah, I burned my last 524 slot on an Amazon card, which doesn't make a lot of sense, but like I had all the Chase cards I wanted like multiple times, and the Amazon card was going to be just made life a little bit easier, so I did it. And I think it's fine. Of course, I didn't miss out on, later the Freedom Unlimited 3X everything offer came out. But you're always going to miss out on something. There's always going to be a higher offer. It's like buying a phone or buying a computer. There's always going to be a next one. We know it's coming. We just don't know when. But you got to buy what you need at the time you need it, and just kind of live with it. So that's kind of how I looked at that one. That's kind of how I looked at, if I wanted a Capital One or Amex card for a specific benefit. The other thing to come into it using Capital One is it going to be easier for me to get these cards now and come back to Chase? Meaning, like, we know that I get denied for Capital One cards all the time. We know that Capital One doesn't like people with a ton of credit cards. They're historically subprime, even though they have the Venture X, which I know is weird, but so if you really want if you've been hitting Chase cards hard and you're doing your second cycle, it might make sense to pause, hit Capital One, because you might not be able to get those cards again if you get too many and get too far in the game. There's also something else to consider where you're at, what you're trying to do. It might make more sense to take a pause. I think the other one is, what are you trying to do with your setup, which kind of goes back to the picking, the card that adds value for you. But for me, I wanted a 5X back, everything set up, and I wanted to earn a ton of money doing this game. And you end up at limits with Chase. Their cards are good. They can only take you so far. And, to set up my Bank of America Preferred Rewards deal, eventually you got to venture out and get those. There's a lot of other really good cards that help me, especially as a cashback person. So I think they become worth it long term because of ease of use, a dedicated 5X card versus always have to buy gift cards, plus an intro offer on top of that, which helps the goal of $5,000 a year. So all those help. So overall, what's really the answer? I think those are the factors to try to consider when you're taking a look at it. Opportunity cost of money or points. How good is the card? Does it do anything for you? Can I get it later? Is this a unique card? Is this a high offer? And then the last one, of course, is do make sure you have all the Chase cards you want first. Because, again, there are still some Chase Keeper cards. The Ink Cash is a keeper. All my Freedoms are. The Amazon cards, And so, yes, get those first and then start to consider these other factors as new cards come up. The thing to remember, as we said about phones, there's always going to be something new. I've tried. It's not possible to get all the offers all the time. You're going to miss out on some. It's the old Jack Sparrow line. Take what you can. Give nothing back. That's kind of how I look at it. So when we get to the question of what is a 524 slot, I think it's a final thought. I think it just becomes a personal thing based on those factors of like, what is it worth to you? That all depends on what you're trying to get out of the game, where you're at in the game, and where you're headed. So overall, these are my thoughts on 524. Someone who probably stayed under 524 a little bit too long. And while I would love to be under 524 all the time, because I'm sure Chase is going to make a new card, realistically, the last hit they made was the Freedom Flex, and that was in 2020. So there's not exactly an endless stream of bangers coming out too, so you're probably not going to miss on that much. But overall, being out of 524, I think I'm glad I did it because I'm much happier with my 5X setup and having dedicated cards for just about everything and the amount of money I've been able to make doing it versus staying, even though I can no longer get those Ink 900s, I can still do much better out here. So that's my thoughts on what a 524 slot is worth. Now, I'll turn it over to you guys. Let me know how you evaluate your 524 status, what they're worth to you, what are the factors you weigh in. I would love to get your thoughts. I think this could be a decent conversation. Anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this one. So if you liked it, drop me a thumbs up down below. If you found it particularly interesting, consider subscribing to the channel. So we're posting content just like this every single week. And of course, we're right back here every Sunday with all the news you can use in the week that was in credit and finance. And every single day over on ProfitableContent.com, the channel's blog. We not only have the latest news stories, we have bank promotions, which is another great way to earning money alongside with no 524 implications, and credit card offers. So if you're under 524, we got Chase offers. If you're over, we got everything else for you. Sure, you can pick something out no matter where you land on this argument. Anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this one. As always, thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you very soon in the next one.